the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially what happened here at the universities, completely changed what I needed to do.
I think for me personally, when I found out that the university was basically shutting down, student workers were losing their jobs, housing was trying to get rid of all of us, I was panicked.
Given that I have a history with brain cancer, I had accommodations to live on campus with my own dorm room, and I had a private restroom for cleanliness reasons, given that I had actually moved to college only 3 months after finishing chemo, and that was actually a 13-month regimen of chemotherapy that I was going to on a weekly basis. So when the university sent out a statement saying that all students should leave campus as soon as possible, if they were able to, I was kind of put in this shock, like many other people, I would say, throughout the world.
When COVID-19 started to get much worse here in the US and, like across the world, and, some schools started like closing their campuses and, moving to online classes and everything. I was actually in Colombia. I was visiting my parents for spring break, and my family there, because I wasn't sure when I was going to be able to see them again.
I originally come from Mexico, and my family comes from a low-income background.
I knew that day of me going somewhere, ideally home, where I am now, would be the case. It would be ideal for me. So about 3 weeks after the university had sent us that statement, I got a call from my oncologist, and he said that given that so much of it travel had been restricted in the U.S., he figured that it would be the best time for me to go home, given that flights were very empty, and I would have the least contact with people during that time frame. So that's what I did. I packed up my stuff officially for like probably the fifth time, and took it to my local church, stored it where they allowed me to store it, and came home.
Frankly, academics was the last thing on my mind. I have things to worry about. I need to know where my next paycheck's coming. I need to know how I'm going to eat. These are things that are essential. And coming from an independent student's background, like, I need to worry about those things. Those are things that I can't help but worry about. And when that happens, academics gets set on the back burner. And while that's my passion, and while I love learning, it's not as important as, where am I going to sleep in a week from now? What am I going to eat tomorrow? And when all of this went down, it kind of I struggled with knowing where everything is going to go from here.
So I'm an international student here at the U of R, and a graduating senior, and my plan is to go to medical school, and for financial reasons, I actually have to defer my admission in order to pretty much see where I can get the funding to go to medical school, which is on its own a very, very complicated issue, considering that I'm originally Venezuelan, and my family had to move out of my country because of the situation there, and that's why they live in Colombia. So since they moved, and a bit before that, I've been actually economically supporting my family, apart from paying for my own expenses and my own bills. So I've been really, really lucky to be able to do that through my student jobs, and the support that I've gotten at the U of R. And of course, it was the last thing I was thinking was about classes or grades or anything else. I was thinking about how I was going to help my parents to pay for rent or food, and to what situation I was going to come back here at the US. So for me, one of the things that was really crucial to come back, because I wasn't sure like how my immigration status would be affected if I stayed there, and like I stayed like pretty much trapped there if they were gonna close the borders. And
I didn't have a place to go, and I still don't have a place to go, and I kind of have to take care of sort of financials as well for myself. And after this COVID-19 situation happened, I couldn't even do that. Apart from that, there's academics to think about, my residents to think about. I'm an RA. How do I can best help everyone? It's just something that I've been thinking about.
I think as a person up, so I'm like, since I help out my parents, like I'm like pretty much independent, and I have to rely on myself to be able to like make ends meet, and not only for me but also for my family. And the uncertainty surrounding not knowing what I'm going to be doing in the next 3 weeks or the next month or the next year is like sometimes really, really stressful, and is really, really hard to get through.
I'm a student worker, and as student workers, being out of a job like that, uh, that impacts your finances is very significantly. I was lucky enough, I'm a tutor, I was lucky enough to have a job after 3 weeks, but for those 3 weeks not being paid, I was in big trouble. I didn't know what to do. I need the money to live on. And I can only imagine what other students are going through who are out of a job, who have no job. Now I can tutor, but what about those students who can't?
So, like it's been really rough, and it definitely has affected, my everything.
Aside from a professor that I've had almost since I transferred in here, her name is Naomi. Aside from Naomi, no faculty or other staff have emailed me or contacted me. Naomi has done this, I think, almost since I met her. She has always been receptive to my background with my family, with my finances. She's always been interested in listening. She wants to offer her advice. She wants to help. And in fact, she changed my entire college career.
During that time that I wasn't able to go home, professors reached out to me and they asked me just simple like, how are you doing? How is it going? How are you handling this situation? And I think that meant a lot, to know that some people cared and some people reached out to know how I was doing. It really meant a lot, especially people that I look up to and that I care about.
So I've been really lucky, because I feel like I've had so many mentors, professors, and friends, and people that have reached out to me to help me, or even just offer to help. Actually, when I was coming back from Colombia, one of my mentors like texted me to tell me that if I needed a place to stay, that I could totally stay with his family. And that's actually what I've been doing. Once I figured that the university was issuing refunds for housing and dining, I pretty much needed the money because I had lost my job at the lab I was working at before, and I needed to still support my family. So I'm so grateful, and I'm extremely lucky to have people like that in my life. But I know that that's not the case for everyone, and I can only imagine all the stress and all the different feelings and situations that they have been put in because of this. I mean, if it weren't because of Dr. Mink and his family, I literally would probably be homeless right now. And I think sometimes we forget to grasp that that's the reality for many people that are around us.
Reached out and there have been a lot of support. In specific, my supervisors, because I'm an RA, so I have the fortune to get to know a lot of people from Rest Life. Also, my professor in specific, my biochemistry professor, who is also my PI, and that's just because he knows my situation, my personal situation, because I was working for him when my father passed away, as well as during independent research and throughout the semesters. The thing that has helped out the most is that my professor allows me to do something like this and is willing to listen, is willing to know my story, so they know how to better help me in my own situation. And I think that it's difficult for us if we come from a difficult background already, where these resources were never available and we just always received a no as an answer, or there was always some sort of discrimination due to the color of your skin or due to a community that just couldn't help you, and having to figure it out alone teaches you resilience and perseverance. But when it comes to a situation like this, it's kind of you thought you escaped something that you didn't want to go back to, and yet you have to go back to it, and it's become even more difficult. And I think it's trying to grapple that and trying to get through it, but it's something that can't be done alone, and it takes a team in order to help these students.
I think sometimes it's really easy for professors that have like huge lecture halls with like 200 people to like really get to know or connect with students. But sometimes, like whenever I have had a bad day, the thing that has gotten me through is getting an email from like a professor that I took a class with like probably like 3-4 semesters ago, and they were trying to check on me and being like, hey, how's your family doing? I know like things are really, really messy. I just wanted to know if you're okay. If you need anything, just please let me know. And like that has made such a difference for me. It has, like, mental health wise, has helped me so much to know that I have people that have my back and that they're willing to be there for me.
I think overall, I just wish professors were more compassionate.
Be there for them. We're not asking for much. Just need to get by right now. I know everybody does, but I know the university can help, and in particular the administration. I guess it feels like, my situation in particular, I poured my heart and my soul into my work. I love tutoring, I love teaching. But at the same time, it feels like, when I need help, who is there?
We care about our education. We're here because we care. And it's not us trying to make your life more difficult. I promise you that. It's just that we also need to be involved. And I know that situations and decisions are difficult, but if you start looking out for those students who come from vulnerable situations, you might give them a shot to actually continue studying. And I just hope that people know that for someone like me, these little acts like kindness really go a long way.
So I would recommend to reach out to your students, reach out whether they're going through something hard or not. I mean, or whether they're showing it. You never know what someone's going through. You never know if they need a hand or if they're having a bad day, and you're reaching out and seeing how they are makes their day or helps them go through something. And just be sure to tell your students that you can be a resource.
What I hope comes out of this, and what I hope happens, is that people feel more encouraged to listen to people on campus that come from particularly difficult situations. Don't ignore them. We do exist. We need a lot of help, and it takes a lot of courage to ask for help, especially when you come from a place where you don't necessarily receive a lot of help, and because you were rejected. And I think that that's difficult to understand, and it takes time and it takes a lot of courage to be able to reach out.